So we are here with
Florian Opahle
from
the Ian Anderson band.
Okay. Now you've been with the band for over 10 years now, but let's go back to the very beginning. When did you first start playing guitar?
I first started playing guitar when I think it was 4 or 5 years old. Some say I was 3, but I think the age of 3 I was in my parents got me into a pre-musical education school, if you will. And the chance to try out different things, a bit of drums, a bit of guitar, and I figured I was torn mostly towards the guitar, which then essentially led to the fact that by the age of 5 I had guitar lessons, and I enjoyed it very much and started out on classical guitar and then evolved into electric guitar later, and here we are.
So it looks like you coming from a very musical home.
Well, my parents both played guitar, but not in a professional way, just entirely a hobby.
When did this get serious for you? You know, because people play guitar for hobby, people play guitar at home, but very few end up on stage.
Well, it's
or in a recording studio.
It's been a while up to that stage level, but I think it's been kind of serious for me pretty early on, because I just liked to play the instrument, and when I even as a kid I remember spending a lot of time back home just practicing, because it was something like it would relax me in a way. You come from school and you pick up a guitar and you play a bit of guitar and so on and so on. But it became a professional thing, I guess, towards the end of my school education, when I had the guitar was also part of the education in there, and when I graduated you had to play pieces and you did get grades, how well you played it, and then after that I figured, first bands and then first recording session. I thought, this is great, this could be a job for me, and ever since that you do what you do. You just try to stay in the business and play sessions, play tours, record, just play for yourself.
Was there a special event that kind of sparked you into turning professionally, or just kind of regular build-up?
I guess probably a build-up, but there's been certain milestones as such. For example, when I first went to a recording studio, and we're talking a big recording studio with the 72-channel SSL large frame desk, and I remember I walked in and I saw this beast, and I was playing guitar, and it sounded so big and so huge, and I just thought, this is great,
So, how does a kid from Germany get noticed by someone like Ian Anderson?
Well,
so British.
It happened shortly after that event, when I first went to a recording studio, which is a recording studio near Munich, run by a guy called Leslie Mandoki. The studio actually belongs to someone else, but he rents it out forever, and he's always been there, and it's a studio. However, he had a female singer, one of the artists he produced, and I was the one to play guitar for her, and we went on a tour opening up and supporting Jethro Tull in Germany and Switzerland, and that's how I met Ian. And towards the end of the tour he gave me a CD with 2 tracks on it and said, can you learn this music till the next day? And so I did. I went back to my hotel room, practiced all night, and the next day we played the 2 pieces, and shortly after he asked me if I wanted to join him in his solo Ian Anderson show layout and play guitar for him, which was great. I mean, I was just a kid, I was 20 years old, and suddenly, you're on tour. You're going to all these countries, you're going around the world, and just one of the best things that happened, especially at a young age.
Now, prior to joining Ian Anderson, were you aware of his recordings, his career, his music?
I knew what we call the heavy hitters, the Aqualungs and the Locomotive Breaths and the big ones. I didn't know the whole back catalogue, obviously, and I think in a way, I wasn't a die-hard fan as such, which I think made it even possible for me to do this, because if you can't play a note because you're shaking, because this is my life, I think that's not a very good way of approaching something. So I think I got into this, and I I learned more and more getting into it, learned more about the material and more about the back catalogue, and eventually it created that understanding of what we do night after night. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't a die-hard fan.
What do you think attracted Ian Anderson about your playing?
I don't know. Got to ask him.
He never mentions that?
Well, there's been like funny things. I guess. Oh, here's a good answer for you. I guess it's the fact that there's much more involved than playing. It's also the fact that you have to take care of business. You have to be on time. You have to do your homework, and you have to hopefully maintain a certain level of quality. And I think that's one of my main goals. You try to be as good as you can night after night. Mostly for the people who come and buy a ticket. So you want to perform in the best possible way, but also as a sideman next to a legend like Ian Anderson, you don't want to let him down by playing wrong. Therefore, you try to maintain a certain level of quality, and I hope he's happy, and I've been around for more than 10 years now, so yeah. See what the future holds.
Yeah, he's proven to be a very disciplined performer over the years. Otherwise, he would have never made that many records and completed that many tours.
Correct.
So was that a big adjustment for you as far as, working, being able to maintain it?
Working ethics?
Yeah.
Not really. I grew up in a family, and it's always been about, if you do something, you do it right. My parents always lived by the rule, okay, you can do whatever you want, but just do it right. No fuffing about. You don't go and play football one week and the next week you decide you want to be a tennis guy, and the week after you do some judo lessons. No, it's not going to work. So you have to stick to what you're doing, stick to your guns, and then go for it. So I was actually very happy that the way this works is just great, because we do 80, 90 shows a year, and there's just no fuffing about. It's you go there, you play, you fly. It's none of that. Oh, right, let's see and wait and maybe get drunk every night. It's just, it doesn't do it for me.
No. Now, obviously, this lineup of the Ian Anderson Band has been around for a while. So how would you describe the dynamics of this group?
You mean the people who play in the band?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's almost like a family thing, I call it. We've known each other for such a long time, and we know each other so well that you kind of know what the other ones are going to do even before they do it, and I think that bounces off each other. It makes it like a bond on stage. Again, to maintain a certain level of quality and keep it up there.
When it was time to make a record, how much space were you allowed to have as a guitar player, composer?
Quite a lot. Obviously, Ian writes the core music, and he writes the words and the song. But when it comes to the guitar part or the solos, it was pretty much free writing for me. So he obviously he knows what he wants, but he's the kind of guy who let you come up with something, and then he will comment on it. Okay, can you change it there, or maybe don't change it at all. A couple of solos on these records. You brought these CD covers along, and I remember now looking at those that there's a couple of solos on them which have been pretty much first take. For example, I think where was it? Benker Bets, Benker Wins, for example, from Thick as a Brick 2 was one of those.
Now, you just mentioned Thick of the Brick 2, which, wow, was a big sequel to a Holy Grail in the book of Jethro Tull. Can you maybe show the record and share your, whatever you remember from that time, making it, recording it, writing it?
Yeah, Thick as a Brick 2. Well, it all started with Thick as a Brick 1 for us.
Obviously.
Cause
that was the blueprint.
Well, we got some of the original recordings and had the chance to really get into this, really take the guitar part and listen to it just on its own and work out the part in order to prepare for that tour. And then Thick as a Brick 2 obviously came along, and all the ideas. And I remember Ian and I we met in Munich in a hotel, and he played his own sketches, and I made a couple notes and recorded some of that, just really rough on my cell phone, to learn the core ideas. And then we all met in a studio and we spent a couple of weeks and rehearsed it and learned it, you know, just like we're sitting here now. And if I had a guitar and you play an instrument, it would just bounce off each other, and it created that thing. And then we recorded it for a couple of weeks, which was a very intense but very nice thing, because mainly there's been a bunch of people in a room playing music at the same time, which has almost become a lost art form these days in recording, when it's just all overdubbed. You know, one day you get the drum in, the next day you get the bass playing, or the next day you do some guitars, or you might do everything by yourself. Not with these records, because Ian's the kind of guy who obviously comes with this massive back catalogue from an era where a band would rehearse a piece and you play it. And if you can't play it, you won't record it. And that's a different energy. I personally believe in getting a certain amount of energy on tape or CD or whatever, a computer, doesn't really matter. However, as long as it's played on the whole, with a bunch of people, because these little things, you know, small adjustments people do.
Now, was there a lot of pressure on the band to compete with such a classic when Ian went for the sequel?
No, I didn't think about anything pressure in that regard. The pressure was probably more meeting the deadline, because I mean you've got a release date and you've got a pressing date, and this also went on vinyl, so therefore you have to book the vinyl pressing so far ahead that you have to be finished by a certain day, almost as such, with the full product. And again, no fuffing about, get it done, and I think we did.
Now, the tour that followed was very interesting, because not only did you play the sequel, but you played the original. You know,
Indeed.
It was a combination of both. What was that like?
That was great. That was really great. Again, part of the reason, because when we learned all of Thick as a Brick 1, and I ever since started working for Ian, we played the short excerpt of Thick as a Brick. We even do that tonight, which is like a condensed version. And then we played the whole thing in that year, 2012, 2013, Thick as a Brick tours, which, it was a great experience to play the whole thing, because it's different dynamics. It's like an ongoing, as you know, it's an ongoing piece, and it builds up over such a long period of time that it's not interrupted as such. It's just you have to see the whole picture. And then again, it's one of the big prog rock icon pieces as such. So an honor as well for a young lad like me, going and perform that piece, you know, live night after night with the people on stage.
From the perspective of time, how do you think the audience reacted to the record and the tour?
If I recall it correctly, I think the audience liked it. I think they did. Especially because Thick as a Brick has not been played as a whole piece a lot of times on the road, except Ian mentioned they only played it when they first released the album, and they did never play it again as an entirety.
Well, it didn't stop there. You made another record with Ian. Could you maybe show the other record?
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah,
yes, that's the one. Show it.
Ian Anderson, Homoeroticus.
Yes.
There you have it. Yeah.
And now something that's a completely different concept. Completely step away from Thick of the, you know. What can you tell me about it?
What can I tell you about this record? Well, it's, as you say, it's a different approach. It's a different topic, and it was different as well for us, because we recorded it as a band, but we used different software compared to the first record, which made it a bit faster in the making. That doesn't comment on the quality. I think the quality was even better by what we used, and it's just different pieces. Doggerland, for example, first thing, kind of rocky up tempo. And I remember when we first heard the demo again, Ian sent out as an MP3, and I think, okay, this is going to be an interesting one, and it's one of my favorites on that record. Anyhow, we sometimes do Doggerland at festivals. Yeah.
Is there something in the works right now for another studio record of original material?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I'm not in the band.
No, it's not much I can tell you about that. No.
Now, after over a decade of working with Ian Anderson, what would you say was some of the things you learned from him? Being a seasoned performer, seasoned songwriter.
Well, mainly, I think I learned the most about being in the music industry as such. How to do certain things, how to get things together. Like, let's say, for example, the fact, write an itinerary about what's going to happen on tour, which I've been doing for everything outside this world, where I'm doing something with my own stuff, whether it be recording or concert. I create an itinerary, and I think I learned that from me, because it's important so everybody knows the information they need to know, and it's quite clear. It's written down on a piece of paper, 3 o'clock departure, whatever, so be there. Or basically your oil spotted, as we say, because the bus is left and all that's on the road left is an oil spot. So that's one thing, and also the fact that nothing is easy. You have to pun intended here, you have to stick to what you do, and you don't give up, and you have to work your way through. You know? And it's not always easy, and some days it's a bit easier, or something comes towards your way, and sometimes you have to really fight for it. And I think that's another thing I learned, because Ian's the kind of guy, he wouldn't give up. You know, he's going for it with great success.
Now, he often claims that he's a bit of a loner. What's he like in the band socially?
Oh, it's different. I think there's different levels. There's the musician. There's also the person that runs the business at the end of the day, and then there's the guy you go out and you have dinner together, and you tell jokes and laugh about, and so it's different levels, which is, again, it's just the way it is, and it's much better than to have someone who knows what's going on, rather than just a bunch of guys hanging around getting drunk and get nothing done, and just fights about silly things, you know, backstage, girls and whatever.
Now,
there's nothing of that here.
Yeah, obviously, otherwise that would not last.
Well, my wife wouldn't allow it anyhow.
And now you're on film. Now, being a guitar player, I'm sure you're concerned about your gear. So what is the setup that you're using? What is like the best thing that gives you your sound?
For this tour, especially mainly because for any of the tours we do fly an awful lot, and nowadays it's not the easiest thing to get, to tour a lot of gear around the world, because basically it's cost involved, you know. And with the airlines making it more and more difficult for us, I at the moment just play a very small rig, just one guitar, a couple of pedals, one amp, that's it. Which obviously is different in a recording studio, and I own an awful lot of different amps and guitars back home in my studio. But again, it's just no point in trying even to bring because the airlines just wouldn't allow it, you know. Like, more often than not, hand luggage restricted to 8 kilos. Well, yeah, the gear, maybe some clothes, that's 8 kilos as a piece of hand luggage. So it's not what it used to be in the 70s. So
I know, trust me, traveling for me to Europe.
Again, yeah. Cameras,
causes similar problems.
I know.
What are some other activities you involve with when you're not playing with Ian? I mean, obviously you're a musician 24 hours a day. So is there anything else that you do outside of this band?
Yeah, there is. I run a recording studio. And now I also run a company together with my wife, and session work. When I'm not touring, doing some of my own material, working for labels in Germany or outside Germany, recording, producing, pretty much that, yeah.
Now, stepping away for a bit, I read that in 2005 you had a chance to join Greg Lake's band for a tour.
Correct.
Greg Lake passed away recently.
Yeah.
He was another giant in the world of progressive rock.
Yeah.
What are your memories of Greg?
Oh, a great friend. And yeah, he passed away last year. I flew out to London we all met, all the guys from the band back then in 2005. We met in London shortly before he died and had dinner. which was the last time I saw him, and yeah, also a great memory I have of Greg Lake is the guitar I'm playing tonight is the Gibson Les Paul. It's actually a present I got given by Greg Lake, and I've been playing this guitar since the day he died. Funnily, I haven't played the guitar for years, and I took it out and flew to Iceland to play a show with Ian, and it was the first time I played that guitar in years. That day Greg Lake died, so I mean, how is that? And I haven't stopped playing it since. Yeah, a great musician.
Outstanding.
It's gone too early.
Outstanding,
Yeah.
outstanding. His acoustic sound was next to none.
Yeah.
Finally, you do get to play a chunk of Jethro Tull's material from all over the place, as you mentioned before. What would you say were some favorite tracks that you identify with?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. I really like the tunes, well, Aqualung, Thick as a Brick, Nothing's Easy, Farm on a Freeway.
I love that one.
The big ones. Great pieces, and it's a joy to go out there and play those. Amongst others, obviously. I mean, I'm not saying that these are the only ones that are great. It's just so much material, but these are the ones we play on a regular basis, and I do enjoy playing those.
Thank you, and
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much. Thank you.